Have you ever had that feeling? Where you're giving your all to your relationship, you're supportive, you're loving, you're attentive, but somehow your guy still seems a little distant? Like there's a wall up, or a part of him is just locked away where you can't quite reach. What if I told you that the key to unlocking that part of him, the part that holds his deepest sense of passion, purpose, and total devotion, isn't about what you're doing, but where you're aiming? And I'll be straight with you, it has absolutely nothing to do with his body. Now, I know the title of this video sounds a little clickbaity, and I own that. But here's the honest truth. The most powerful spot isn't physical. It's something far more profound, and it's hidden deep within the psychology of every man. And to find it, we're not going to use any trendy pop psychology or vague relationship advice. We're going deep with the timeless wisdom of one of the founding fathers of analytical psychology himself, Carl Gustav Jung. To really understand what's going on beneath the surface, we need to look at a map of the male psyche. And one of the most insightful maps ever drawn came from Carl Jung. He proposed that our inner world isn't just a blank slate, it's populated by universal patterns and energies that influence everything we do. For a man, 3 of these forces are particularly powerful, and they're constantly interacting, sometimes working together, sometimes in conflict. Getting to know them is like learning a secret language. First, let's talk about the anima. Think of the anima as a man's inner feminine side. It's not a physical thing, but rather an unconscious, deeply ingrained image of the feminine that he carries inside him. This image is built from everything. His relationship with his mother, his sisters, his first crush, the women in movies and books, every positive and negative experience he's ever had with the feminine energy. It shapes his ideals, his expectations, and his deepest longings. You've probably seen this in action without even realizing it. It's the anima that influences his moods, that spark of creativity he sometimes gets, or his ability to connect with his more tender feelings. But here's the most crucial part. A man is almost always unconsciously searching for this inner image in the outside world. He projects his anima onto the women he meets, especially a partner. He's not just seeing you for who you are, on some deep level. He's also seeing the living embodiment of this inner ideal he's been carrying his entire life. He's seeking a connection to that lost part of himself through you. Now, if the anima is one side of the coin, the shadow is the other. The shadow is essentially the basement of a man's psyche. It's where he locks away everything he doesn't want to admit about himself, everything that doesn't fit the image he wants to present to the world. We're talking about his insecurities, his hidden fears, his perceived weaknesses, that sudden burst of anger he's ashamed of, or any emotion he's been taught is unmanly. This isn't necessarily evil stuff. It's often just vulnerable, raw, or messy human stuff. But because it feels dangerous, he stuffs it down. The problem is, the shadow doesn't just disappear. It always finds a way to express itself. You might see it when he gets overly irritated by a small mistake someone else makes. That's often him seeing his own flaw in them, a trick called projection. Or you might see it in how he puts on an overly tough, macho persona, a performance meant to convince everyone, especially himself, that those hidden vulnerabilities down in the basement don't exist. The key thing to understand is that every man is hiding the shadow, and his greatest fear is that someone will open that basement door, shine a light inside, and see the mess he's so desperately trying to conceal. The terror of being judged for what's in the shadow is incredibly powerful. Finally, we have the most active of these forces, the hero archetype. This is the central character in a man's internal story. From a very young age, boys are immersed in stories about heroes who go on a journey, face a dragon or a great challenge, overcome it through courage and competence, and return home transformed, earning respect and validation. This isn't just a fun story, it's programmed into the masculine psyche as a blueprint for meaning. A man's fundamental drive is to embark on his own version of that journey. It's not always about slaying a literal monster. It's about facing challenges at work, fixing a problem around the house, providing for his family, or mastering a skill. It manifests as his deep need for purpose, his desire to feel competent and effective, and his craving to feel like he has what it takes to navigate the world. This is why he often wants to solve problems when you vent about your day. He's hearing a dragon that needs slaying. And this is also why a man's deepest fear is the opposite of the hero, being seen as weak, incompetent, impotent, or a failure. To feel like a failed hero is to feel like he has no value, no place in the world. It's a devastating psychological blow. So much of his behavior, his drive, and his defensiveness can be traced back to this relentless, often unconscious, need to be the hero of his own story. So how do you actually translate this into your relationship? How do you connect with these deep parts of him in a way that feels authentic to you and empowering for him? It's about subtle shifts in your approach, tiny changes that signal safety and understanding on this profound, almost unconscious level. Let's start with the hero. This isn't about feeding his ego with empty praise. It's about acknowledging his competence and his desire to be effective. Think of it as cheering for the player, not just celebrating the scoreboard. One of the simplest ways to do this is to genuinely ask for his help or his opinion on something you know is in his wheelhouse. It could be as simple as, "Hey, you have a much better eye for this than I do. Could you take a look at this email before I send it?" Or, "What do you think we should do about this squeaky door?" You're always better at figuring these things out. This isn't about playing damsel in distress. It's a specific invitation that says, "I see your skills, and I value them." Beyond asking for help, the most powerful thing you can do is offer specific appreciation for his actions. Instead of a general, "You're a good provider," try, "Thank you for working so hard to get that project finished. I know it was stressful, but you handled it so well." This praises the journey, the effort, the dragon he slayed, which is what truly matters to the hero. Ultimately, it comes down to trust. If he's leading in an area where he's capable, whether it's navigating a road trip or managing the finances, try to step back and let him. Micromanaging or taking over tells the hero he's not competent, while your trust confirms that he is. Now, welcoming the shadow is perhaps the most delicate and powerful work. This is about creating a space where he doesn't feel like he has to perform or hide. The number one rule here is to resist the urge to fix. When a man finally musters the courage to share a worry, a failure, or a moment of self-doubt, his deepest need isn't for a solution, it's for companionship. He needs to know he's not alone in the dark. So when he says, "I really messed up that presentation at work today," your first response shouldn't be, "Well, did you try this? Maybe you should do that tomorrow." Instead, just be with him. Try something like, "Wow, that sounds so tough. It's so frustrating when you prepare and it still doesn't go right. I'm really sorry you're going through that." This is active listening. It validates his feeling without judgment. You can also help normalize his experience by sharing your own vulnerabilities first. Talking about a time you felt insecure or overwhelmed gives him implicit permission to have those feelings too. It signals that your relationship is a judgment-free zone. And if he does express a weak emotion, sadness, fear, overwhelm, meet it with simple, compassionate normalization. A quiet, "It's okay to feel that way. Everyone gets overwhelmed sometimes. I'm right here," is a balm to the soul of a man who fears his shadow will be seen as monstrous. Finally, harmonizing with the anima is about connection, not perfection. You cannot and should not try to be the perfect fantasy woman in his psyche. That's an impossible standard. The goal is to be your authentic, integrated self, because that realness is what actually connects. Your genuine emotions, your unique creativity, your intuition, these are the very things that resonate with his inner feminine. When you share a piece of art that moved you, or talk about a dream you had, or express how you're truly feeling, you are speaking the language of the anima. You can also gently encourage this in him. The anima is also the source of his creativity and deeper emotional world. Asking a question like, "This song always makes me feel nostalgic. What does it make you feel?" Or, "If your mood had a color right now, what would it be?" can open a door to a richer conversation that isn't just about facts and logic. And perhaps the most liberating part of understanding the anima is this. Sometimes, his frustration or irritation with you has very little to do with you. It can be a sign that he's struggling with his own inner world, that there's a conflict between his conscious mind and this unconscious energy. It doesn't excuse hurtful behavior, of course, but understanding this can help you not take every single gripe as a personal failing. It allows you to respond from a place of curious compassion rather than immediate defensiveness, which can completely change the dynamic of an argument. So, we started by talking about a secret spot, and I hope now you see that it's not a button you push or a trick you perform. It's something much more meaningful. It's a space you create, a space of radical trust and unconditional acceptance. It's the safety of knowing he can be both the strong hero and the vulnerable human, sometimes in the same hour, and he will still be seen, valued, and loved. That space, that profound psychological safety, is the most powerful thing you can offer. I want to be really clear about this because this is so important. This isn't a manual for manipulation. This isn't about learning how to handle a man. This is about understanding. It's about peeking behind the curtain of the masculine psyche with compassion and curiosity so you can build a connection that most people only dream of. It's about you choosing to become a conscious, intentional partner in his inner journey. And in doing that, you naturally invite him to become a more conscious, present partner in yours. This is how you stop just talking and start truly communicating. When you learn how to connect on this level, you don't just get his attention for the evening. You earn his deepest respect and his most sincere devotion for a lifetime. If this perspective shifted something for you today, if it made you think about your relationship in a new way, it would mean the world to me if you'd hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. And I would genuinely love to hear from you. This isn't just a one-way street. What was your biggest takeaway? Was it the idea of the hero's journey, the hidden shadow, or the projection of the anima that resonated most? Let's start a conversation down in the comments below. Your story might be exactly what another woman needs to hear. And to make this understanding complete, in our next video we're going to flip the script and explore the female equivalent, Jung's fascinating concept of the animus. To understand how his psyche works is powerful, but to understand your own is truly transformative. Make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching.